seeking your passion despite having an MS diagnosis. Hi YouTube, Muhammad here. So, MS is a disease attacking the central nervous system. It is chronic, it has no cure yet. So, seeking your passion despite MS is a challenge. It is hard. It might even appear as an impossible thing. So, we're interviewing Laura Irons to take from her experience. So, let's check the interview. This is the first time I ever interview anybody.
When you think something's recording, you start to panic. I don't know why. I always get nervous. Every time I do a video, I'm always nervous. You're putting yourself out there. It's very vulnerable.
Okay, Laura, how are you? Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mohammed. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Now,
Good.
let's start with the questions. When did you discover that you have MS?
I discovered I had MS in 2008, and I was diagnosed with the actual MS diagnosis in July 2008.
How did MS affect your life and goals in it?
I think at the time when I was diagnosed with MS, I was around about 27. I'd just moved to Cardiff. I wouldn't really say that I had any goals in particular, but I would say that, I was looking forward to sort of progressing my career. Previously to being diagnosed and until just after, my MS hadn't really affected me physically, and it wasn't until sort of shortly after.
Your hand was paralyzed or lost its feeling?
Yeah, that's right. That was a little bit later on. That was in 2019. But previous to that relapse, I actually had an very severe relapse where I wasn't able to. I had no use of my hands, not much use of my legs, and that relapse really took a long time to get over and to rehabilitate and kind of get back to a point where physically I was able to enjoy life again. But I suppose in terms of goals, it was a little bit later on when I decided what my career path was going to be, which was doing complementary therapy for people going through cancer. I had a relapse which affected my left arm, so I realised very shortly after that I probably wasn't going to be able to get back into doing that. So it did affect life quite hugely, actually.
Life and of course affected your goals in it.
Goals that I had thought about in the future were literally just taken away. I did try my very, very best to get my arm to a point where I could go back to the career that I loved and was my passion. But there were just so many setbacks and my arm just couldn't return back to normal after the relapse. So yeah, in many ways, yeah, it did affect my goal. Yeah, it affected my goal very much in terms of my career progression within that, something that I loved.
If you allow me to ask, Laura, how did this MS thing, how did it reshape your goals?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I think it was a really difficult experience to go through that period of time, because in all the time that I've had my MS, I've never experienced a setback like that. I've probably never experienced pain like that on a constant, like daily basis. And it affected me mentally. I was very, very depressed. I didn't know where my path was going. So after a long while, it forced me to reset my goals and rethink my future. And in between that period, you have to like grieve almost for your loss of what your life was and what your goals were and what you were doing, because you know you're never going to go back to that. So I think it's a process of looking at your capability now, what you can do now, and then trying to go into the future with that. So it's just about realigning yourself with your capabilities and what you think that you are able to do at this moment in time, and potentially take it into the future. The thing is, I feel like you can never really look so far into the future with your MS, because you never really know what's going to happen. You can't let it stop you. You have to kind of reshape work for you at this moment in time, rather than look back into the past and the things that you can't do anymore.
Like a new existence, like you were resurrected again, but this time with MS, reborn again with MS, with the chronic disease.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's, sorry for interrupting. MS is a really strange thing. You know, it's like I was saying when I was first diagnosed. Okay, I had a few like sensory issues. I couldn't feel like my toes and my fingers, and I was a bit numb in places. But I was never prepared for what was going to come later, with just, you know, from those little sort of benign symptoms here and there. I was never prepared for what was going to come and then just turn my life around. But I think that the biggest thing that I could probably say is it's just you have to try and keep a strong mindset. You just have to, because you're going to go into low places when you're at that stage, you know, because in an instant your life's taken away from you, your goals are taken away, everything that you know taken away, your confidence is taken away. But as they say, if you're at your lowest, you can only really go upwards from there. So you have to try and get yourself into a frame of mind that everything will be okay and everything's going to come right. It's really challenging, but I think that's the only thing that pulled me through in the end.
Challenging, but possible. Laura, I'll ask you about the next question. What are the passions you are seeking now?
My passions. So I always think it's really important to have a passion. I'm sure you have one, or maybe lots more than one. I think because if you get to a point where you're a little bit lost in your life, and you don't know where you're going and stuff, I think it's always good to have a focus and something that takes you away from that everyday, you know, like thought process of maybe pain or what you're going through with your MS. And so it's quite nice to have a passion to take you away from that. So when I was going through my relapse with my arm, and that was just pre the pandemic, I was in a really bad place. I was extremely lost as a person. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what my future was going to be. And I got very depressed, and I needed something. I needed to find a way to express myself, because I think people around me were so sick of listening to me, you know, go on about my pain. not that I used to talk about it loads, but I think there's only so much you can talk about it to people who don't understand. And so I took up photography. I'd always been interested in it, but I wanted to take it up and kind of almost like express myself through photography. So that's what I did. I picked up the camera and I started doing self-portraits of how I was feeling on that day. And then it just progressed into, do you know what, I really love photography. It takes me out away from everyday thinking about my troubles and my worries and sometimes my pain. And it was just my escapism. You can be whatever you want in that moment. And it was only ever going to be for me, but then, you know, I think it is a form of art. It's a form of creativity. And that's why I'm just sharing it with people, because if other people like to enjoy it or maybe they're interested in it, then hopefully I can help them or guide them through things that I was going through at the time.
It's wonderful. You have your photography page on Instagram.
Yeah.
It has lots of amazing pictures. And
thank you.
You're welcome. So we're coming to the last question in the list. Why seeking a passion, even though you are chronically sick? Why not give up?
Okay, why not give up? I mean, goodness, honestly, there have been times where I've just felt like giving up. There really have been. There have been some pretty dark times in my life since having MS. I feel like seeking a passion, one that you particularly love, and it ignites you with a good feeling, and you're passionate about it, and it's something that you love. It doesn't even matter what it is. It could be walking, it could be hiking in the woods, it could be spending time with your animals, it could be working for a charity, you know, it could just be taking a piece of paper and doing a painting. It could be any single thing. But once you find your passion, I feel like it's a therapy for your multiple sclerosis. I feel like psychologically it helps you cope with things that are really difficult sometimes. Coming together with other people and talking about sharing experiences and talking openly about their MS, and being able to support each other.
Like taking your mind off the pain of the symptoms. I picture that when you photograph, or you have also other passions that you didn't speak about, like caring for pets.
I mean, I have two beautiful dogs which I care for every day, and they're like one of the main focus of my life, really, these two. But there are other things, yeah, I mean, so they are amazing, they bring so much joy into my life. I think another way that I deal with things is I do Tai Chi as well, with a mixture of Qigong. I don't know if you've ever heard of Qigong, but it's like a meditation process for me. It also structures the body and helps me to refocus. And I love doing it. It really calms the body, and it's an amazing way for me to relax. And I think it's energetically good for the body and the mind.
Splendid. Okay, Laura. Now we reach the end of our interview. Thank you so much for sharing your experience past pains. And
You're welcome. Sorry for rambling on.
no problem.
Thanks, Mohammed, and take care.
You're welcome. This is the first time I ever interview anybody.
How we're talking now, you're relaxed, you're talking, you're not bothered. And this is what probably people want to watch, is just a relaxed conversation about how people are feeling about their MS. Yeah, and people are going to be looking and watching, and anybody in the world can watch that video.
Exactly, like everybody is seeing you.
Yeah, everybody.
It's a self-esteem issue. I used to be, by the way, very strong in front of people, firm and strong. After MS and the issue that I have with speech right now, I mean, you notice that my speech is slurring.
Yeah, but I just thought that was part of your MS, so it's okay, isn't it?
Part of MS? I was speaking very good before.
Yeah, but it affects everybody differently. That's the thing.
My motor skills are bad. I have MS in the brain stem.
People say, if they don't understand depression, people will just say, oh, just get over it, just try and not be depressed. But you can't, because it's a chemical thing going on in your head. Like, I can't stop why I feel like this. I didn't even know why I feel like it half the time. It just happens. Smoking and alcohol are not the right reason, not the right way. A lot of people say, go and do, go out in nature, go and walk, go and do this and that. Yes, you can do that as well, but it's not always enough.
Yes, it's not enough at all.
You know what, Mohammed, you can sit here. I've done this before. I've sat here and I thought, oh my God, like, what is going to happen to me? I have this problem with my neck. Like, sometimes I can't move my neck. One day I'm going to wake up and I can't move my head. I can't move.
Depressing,
and I think this,
Raquel.
Yeah. Then I think I'm going to have to stop thinking about that, because if I think about that too much, I'm just going to get myself into more of a depression. Like, I think you just have to take each day as it comes. With MS, that's the only way you can do it.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing your experience with us. Your passions in this life are your first line of defense against MS and any other chronic illness. So make sure to grow them and harness them. Laura's photography page and YouTube channel can be accessed from the links down below. Stay safe, everybody.